Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Port Charles 411, Bobbie Spencer, Part 14, 2014 to 2016. We left off last episode. Covered a lot of years, covered like 7 years, because this is where we start to get into Bobbie having a major role, but in other people's storylines, but it's still relevant to her. So,
right.
Because it builds the character that we love Bobbie.
Yes. So yeah, we left off with Julian just coming back to town and Bobbie not knowing how to tell Lucas that Julian was his biological father.
Yes.
So 2014, back at Carly's house, Bobbie spoke to Lucas again, saying she planned to remain in Port Charles because Lulu needed her. After Bobbie locked the house and left, Heather emerged from the shadows. She was at Carly's. After she left, Heather emerged from the shadows with a gun pressed to Carly's back, forcing her inside. Heather demanded to know who else was home. Carly said Jocelyn was visiting Jax in Australia. Heather warned she wouldn't hesitate to shoot that corn child.
Okay.
Carly lied. Later, Bobbie's timely arrival elsewhere spared Lucy from an awkward confrontation with Kevin. Bobbie, however, immediately sensed Lucy was up to something. The conversation was interrupted when Scott greeted Bobbie warmly before she hurried off with her family. Luke later thanked Bobbie for supporting Lulu, and Bobbie admitted that she still hadn't told Lucas that Julian was alive, though Julian continued asking questions. Soon after, Michael visited Bobbie. Oh yeah, by the way, Michael's not in a coma anymore. Michael visited Bobbie looking for Carly. Bobbie explained that Carly hadn't come home from the previous night. Michael then revealed that Carly was now involved with Franco. Shocked, Bobbie couldn't fathom why her daughter would ever be with the man who had caused her family so much harm. Michael agreed he had hoped to talk some sense into her. Bobbie begins her day worried and unsettled. She leaves a voicemail for Carly, telling her that Michael had stopped by, but her focus shifts when someone starts pounding on the door. Opening it, she finds Franco, and her disappointment is immediate. He pushes inside despite her attempt to shut him out, insisting he's looking for Carly. The worry she has been trying to suppress explodes to the surface. No one has seen or heard from Carly since the previous afternoon. Convinced that Sonny's enemies might have targeted her, Bobbie resolves to report Carly missing. Franco offers support, but Bobbie, distrustful and irritated, tells him to stay at the house in case Carly returns. Meanwhile, at the boathouse, Heather Weber watches Carly's phone buzz with Bobbie's calls. She dismisses it smugly, savoring the thought of Bobbie's rising fears. At the police station, Dante and Anna discuss a knife connected to Carly's disappearance. Dante insists they keep quiet until fingerprints confirm who handled it, especially with Michael fuming and eager to blame Franco. Bobbie arrives mid-conversation, anxious for any update. After assuring her they are doing all they can, Anna watches Bobbie hand over Carly's toothbrush so a DNA comparison can be run. When Dante walks off, Bobbie presses Anna for an arrest, insisting Franco is responsible. Anna cautions her to wait for lab results, but Bobbie, frantic, exhausted, and fueled by a mother's terror, threatens to take matters into her own hands. Her agitation only grows when she runs into Scott Baldwin. She begs him to arrest Franco and force a confession out of him. Scott, uneasy about getting too involved, tries to reason with her, but Bobbie refuses to hear it. In her eyes, Franco is guilty and Scott is protecting him. Elsewhere, Ava and Julian discuss Sonny's distraction with Carly's disappearance, but Julian shifts the conversation to Bobbie. He reveals that he recently saw her and discovered something shocking. Lucas, Bobbie's adopted son, is actually Julian's biological child from an old affair with Lucas's birth mother. Ava needles him, but Julian admits he wants to meet the son he never knew. Back at Carly's house, Bobbie's emotions break through as she looks at photos of her children. Luke arrives to comfort her and reassure her that Carly will be all right. The talk is interrupted when Lucas appears unexpectedly. He is flown in, determined to be there for his family. Bobbie tries to shield him from the chaos and tells him to go back home, but Lucas, steadfast and compassionate, refuses. Once he leaves the room, Luke urges Bobbie to tell him the truth about Julian. Fearful and protective, she resists until Luke gently reminds her that Lucas is an adult. Bobbie reluctantly agrees, but when Lucas walks back in, she hesitates again, too shaken to begin. At Kelly's diner, Dante updates Anna by phone, then talks with Lulu about Bobbie's grief and Lulu's own prolonged absence from home. Their personal conversation is interrupted when Bobbie walks in. Sam checks on her and Bobbie thanks her for helping Lucas, only to find out Lucas had lied about spending the night at Sam's. As worry spikes again, Lucas arrives and apologizes. He confronts Bobbie about knowing Julian was alive. Bobbie admits she hid it to protect him. Sam warns him that Julian is manipulative and dangerous, recounting how he tried to use Danny's health as leverage. Lucas listens thoughtfully, but insists the choice of a relationship with his biological father is ultimately his. Bobbie, emotional but understanding, accepts this. When Lucas leaves to think, she breaks down and Sam comforts her. Because this is whenever Sam had just realized that meant that Lucas was her brother.
Right.
Michael and Morgan, meanwhile, argue about their mother's disappearance, Morgan urging Michael to pressure Kiki for information about Franco. Before the brothers can act, Bobbie calls with a stunning update. Carly has been found. At the hospital, paramedics rush Carly and a gravely wounded Franco inside. Carly, dehydrated and bruised, squeezed Franco's hand, thanking him for saving her. He briefly opens his eyes before they are separated for treatment. Doctors assure Carly she will recover, but her anxiety centers entirely on Franco's condition. Bobbie and Lucas soon join her, embracing her in relief and shock. Carly insists Franco saved her life, and Lucas goes to check on him. In Franco's room, the doctors explain that surgery is needed to remove a bullet, but Franco only cares about Carly before he crashes and requires defibrillation. Lucas witnesses the crisis as he reaches the doorway. Michael and Morgan arrive and question Carly, assuming Franco harmed her, but Bobbie explains everything. Heather abducted Carly, tried to frame Franco, and shot him. Lucas returns to report that Franco is stable but critical. Carly demands to see him, and though everyone worries about her condition, Michael and Morgan finally help her into a wheelchair. They arrive just in time to watch Franco being rushed to surgery. Carly begs for a moment with him, promising through tears that she will not give up on him. Later, Bobbie finds Lucas sitting alone, troubled. He confesses that he confronted Julian at the cemetery and that Julian rejected him for being gay. Bobbie's heart breaks for him. At Kelly's, Scott waits anxiously for Bobbie. She's an hour late and clearly distraught when she finally arrives. She reveals that she has broken up with Noah Drake because he rekindled an old romance with Annie Logan. Scott sympathizes, but Bobbie accuses Annie of being a homewrecker. Scott, uncomfortable, admits he understands such mistakes too well. He's having an affair himself. When Bobbie pieces together what he means, she is stunned. Their conversation is cut when Lucy herself shows up, leading Scott outside to discuss her decision regarding their relationship. And I watched this too. Bobbie had been in her car talking to Noah, and that's why she was late for her dinner with Scott. And she called Annie some not other nice names. And that's whenever Scott got real uncomfortable and admitted that he was also a homewrecker. And then Lucy shows up, or Bobbie says to him that this relationship needs to end. Him and Lucy need to end. She can't have both of them. That's not fair. And he says that he agrees. And she's like, oh, really? And it turns out that Scott had given Lucy an ultimatum. And so whenever Lucy shows up outside, she is there to say that she has picked to stay with Kevin. And so Scott is heartbroken. Elsewhere, Luke enjoys breakfast with Tracy, though she senses something off about him. Bobbie storms in, furious that Luke somehow neglected to tell her about his engagement. He feigns confusion, but she quickly forgives him. Scott arrives, teasing Luke with a photo of him in Heather's wig. Bobbie insists she and Scott are just friends, though Scott jokingly hopes to change that. After Luke and Tracy leave, Scott invites Bobbie to attend the nurses' ball with him. She hesitates given their history and fresh heartbreak, but Scott insists on trying again. At the Metro Court, Lucy is overwhelmed with guilt for hurting Kevin. Reporters ambush her, but Felicia helps her push through, until Bobbie intercepts her, furious about Lucy's treatment of Scott. Tempers escalate, accusations fly, past sins are dredged up, and when Lucy taunts Bobbie about her history as a prostitute, Bobbie slaps her. The two women erupt in a full-blown catfight until Felicia intervenes. Reporters close in, prompting Lucy to panic about Kevin seeing the story. Felicia ultimately bribes them with her cherished Aztec necklace to bury the photos. Afterwards, Lucy and Felicia sit together, shaken, remorseful, but grateful for their friendship. Which is another thing that we don't see anymore, right?
What?
That Felicia and Lucy are that good of friends that she'd give up her necklace.
Well, not just that. I'm just thinking, like, if this happened now, Felicia would be having a Netflix special on this chick believes she's an Aztec princess, and here's like the 20-part series about it. It'd be like, well, back in the 80s, this is what happened. And then this is what happened in the 90s. And it's like, which story is it?
Oh my God, that's great. Meanwhile, Scott arrives via elevator, sees Felicia comforting Lucy, and quietly backs out heartbroken.
We need that to happen on the show. I know that we hated Mob Princess, but we need
a reality
someone
show
to come do some kind of a Netflix documentary special on one of these scandals. Just one of them.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Back at the hospital, a police officer guards Lucas's room as Luke approaches. After gaining access, Luke enters and coldly reveals his true motive. Lucas must die so Julian will understand that no one walks away from the organization. As Luke begins to cut off Lucas's oxygen, Bobbie unexpectedly enters and Luke immediately masks his intent. She thanks him for visiting, unaware he was moments away from killing her son. She shares that Lucas is expected to recover and expresses her dread that Julian's world has now touched Lucas. Luke feigns sympathy and urges her to rest, but she refuses to leave. In the hallway...
Is this real Luke?
No.
Okay.
But we don't know that yet. I'm
like, wait a second. This is not... Okay.
Because spoiler alert there. In the hallway, Alexis arrives, eager to share good news with Julian. Luke pretends to be concerned, warning her not to push Julian into naming names, something Alexis believes would free them all from danger. Luke insists doing so would invite catastrophic retaliation. After Alexis convinces Bobbie to get food, Luke returns to Lucas's room, closes the blinds, and once again clamps the breathing tube, unaware that Julian is watching from outside the door. Bobbie finds Julian Jerome lurking outside Lucas's hospital room. Julian claims he is there to see his son, but Bobbie blocks him, insisting that Julian's presence only brings danger. The argument escalates as Julian retorts that Lucas is more threatened by Bobbie's family than by him. Trying to rattle her, Julian lies that Carly is dating a serial killer, but Bobbie sharply reminds him that Franco had nothing to do with Lucas being shot. Declaring that he loves his son too much to endanger him, Julian walks away, leaving Bobbie unnerved but resolute. Inside Lucas's room, Felix is tending to Lucas's bandage when Brad bursts in, out of breath and apologetic. Lucas reminds Brad that they are not together and insists Felix has been taking good care of him. Brad becomes jealous, prompting Felix to brightly and deliberately assert that he and Lucas are very much dating, even recounting their lovely dinner cut short by gunfire. The rivalry intensifies when Bobbie storms in, ordering both men out. After they leave, she coolly tells Lucas, "You're welcome," asserting herself as gatekeeper of her wounded son. And he had got shot because he was at dinner with Julian. I watched that too. That was like they were having a family dinner at the gallery, and a waiter came in, like he was dressed like a waiter, and he shot Lucas out of nowhere. And Anna was more concerned with some shipment that was coming on Pier 54 that she was like not going to let him go to the hospital. And Alexis was with him and was like, no, he's worried about his son. You're absolutely going to let him go to the hospital. So meanwhile, at the Metro Court, Lucy arrives at Scott Baldwin's suite expecting to see Scott, but Bobbie answers the door wearing Scott's robe and a victorious smile. Lucy pushes her way inside, outraged, insisting Bobbie must be there without Scott's permission. Bobbie smugly informs her that Scott invited her. Old resentments burst open. Lucy claims she was only confused about her failing marriage when she rejected Scott. Bobbie calls out Lucy's history of affairs. Lucy fires back that Bobbie had been dumped more times than she can count, even once for her own daughter. Bobbie warns not to bring Carly into this, but Lucy keeps pushing until Bobbie slaps her. Lucy slaps back. The two women erupt in a full physical brawl across the bed and onto the floor. Scott walks in mid-cat fight and is horrified. Bobbie blames Lucy. Lucy tries to attack Bobbie again, and Scott struggles to pull them apart. Lucy flees in tears, humiliated and furious, while Bobbie savors her victory. Lucy rushes to the floating rib to unload on Felicia. She recounts Bobbie opening Scott's door in his robe and insists that Scott belongs with her, not Bobbie. Felicia advises Lucy to fight for Scott if she truly wants him, sending Lucy off determined to win him back. Back at the hotel suite, Bobbie wakes in Scott's bed as he broods over Lucy's emotional outburst. He tries to slip out for a meeting with Anna, but Bobbie insists that they need to talk about Lucy. Bobbie presses Scott to choose between them, convinced Lucy wants him back. Scott resists being boxed in until Lucy appears at the door. Bobbie lets her in with pointed hostility. Lucy tearfully admits she pushed Scott away but still loves him. Bobbie counters that Scott is with her now. Both women demand a choice. Scott panics, claims he's late, and flees the room. Bobbie and Lucy glare at each other as the rivalry continues. It's been a hot minute since we've had women fighting over Scott.
Well, that would involve Scott being on the show, so there's that.
True, but I just mean, I'm sure he was enjoying all that attention.
Across town, Carly is dealing with a crisis of her own. Franco finds 2 glasses of wine in Carly's home and becomes convinced she spent the night with Sonny. By the way, we did an entire 411 about Carly and Franco, so you have to go find it because it's kind of crazy.
It was crazy because we had crazy Franco and then not so crazy Franco, and then it was like, what are they doing?
Well, I think they did it because Carly and Todd Manning were going to be so good, and then we lost Todd Manning. And so when Roger came back as Franco, they tried to pair the actors together again, and it kind of worked, but not when they made him Franco. You know, it wasn't like Michael Easton and Kelly Monaco, which it doesn't matter which character they are, they work, right? It just doesn't. Although if Michael Easton had come back as Franco and they tried to put him with Kelly Monaco, that would not have worked. So he demands the truth, but Carly denies everything until Bobbie enters and Carly ropes her into covering. Bobbie awkwardly agrees, but Franco remains suspicious and insists on checking the bedroom. Sonny slips out the window just in time. Outside, he calls Carly from the porch and she rushes to him. Sonny insists he won't walk away because the night they shared meant something. He kissed her, but Carly pulls back, determined to stay with Franco. Inside, Franco insists that Sonny kissed Carly. Bobbie admits she's not surprised, observing that Sonny always gravitates back to Carly when vulnerable. She urges Franco not to let jealousy push Carly away. When Carly re-enters, Franco apologizes for overreacting, while Carly shares a shaking glance with Bobbie, weighed down by guilt. After Franco leaves for work, Bobbie confronts Carly for the truth. Carly admits she and Sonny kissed, shared the bed, and though she insisted that she pushed Sonny away afterwards. Bobbie warns that
it didn't work that well. Sorry, we hooked up. Don't kiss me.
But also, it's like, one thing, Mom, listen, he was over, he kissed me, but I sent him away. And shared the bed part that's not an accident. Bobbie warns that both Sonny and Franco are volatile choices, but Carly insists she's committed to Franco. Franco later grills Scott, suspecting that Bobbie lied to cover for Carly and Sonny. Did we talk about the fact that it was Scott's son and Bobbie's daughter together?
I think we've brought up the ew from that before, but
Have
we have not. I'm absolutely sure that we have.
Bobbie and Scott never got married, but it kind of would have been like Marcia and Greg.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. Scott tries to ease his son's fears, but becomes increasingly uneasy as Franco demands details, even Scott's phone. Carly walks in just in time, and Scott escapes to answer Anna's call. Bobbie visits Scott, stiff and distant, to tell him Carly is throwing Franco a birthday party. Scott confronts her about lying for Carly, and Bobbie dodges and tries to leave. But Lucy soon appears after, demanding that Scott choose between them on the spot. Bobbie agrees. Scott finally admits he cares about both, but must choose one, and ultimately picks Bobbie. Bobbie later kisses him and asks if they're official. Aw, did he give her his pin? His Letterman jacket? They go unsteady. Scott confirms they are. Yay! And says that he values their honesty.
Which isn't good. She's lying.
No. Yeah. At Franco's birthday party, Franco begins a tense speech, hinting he's about to expose something, and Carly panics. But instead, Franco unexpectedly proposes, kneeling before Carly without a ring. The room is stunned. Michael, Kiki, Bobbie, and Scott all freeze. Carly, recalling Sonny's words that she still belongs with him, shocks everyone by accepting Franco's proposal. Franco beams outwardly. Inwardly, his expression darkens. Kiki pulls Franco aside, reminding him she knows Carly slept with Sonny. Franco insists it was a one-time lapse and that Carly accepted because she truly loves him. Michael then questions Carly, gently asking if she's sure. Carly claims she's happy, though she looks conflicted. Later, Franco secretly watches a live video feed of Bobbie and Carly talking at the Metro Court, confirming that Bobbie still feels guilty about lying to Scott regarding Carly and Sonny. Franco mutters bitterly as Scott approaches. Scott invites Franco to lunch with him and Bobbie. Franco rejects it and claims Scott chose the wrong woman. Scott defends Bobbie, but urges Franco to make peace since Franco is marrying Bobbie's daughter. At the Metro Court, Bobbie urges Carly not to repeat her long pattern of falling back into Sonny's arms. Carly insists she has chosen Franco. When Scott arrives mid-conversation, Carly claims they were talking about her upcoming marriage, and Bobbie tries to keep peace as Scott and Carly nearly clash over Sonny's character. Lucy arrives and immediately trades insults with Bobbie, her hair, age, and past infidelities, until Duke physically drags Lucy away. Scott admits that he invited Franco to lunch, just as Franco strolls in, saying he rearranged everything to be with Scott, Bobbie, and Carly. As he joins them, Carly forces a smile, and Franco cheerfully suggests they begin talking about wedding plans, all while concealing his growing suspicions and possessiveness beyond the polite facade. Carly's home, Bobbie, Maxie, and Lucas busied themselves with wedding plans while waiting for Carly to arrive. As they sorted through decorations and ideas for Carly's Halloween wedding, Lucas notices Maxie wasn't her usual spirited self. Maxie admitted she had trouble mustering enthusiasm for anyone's wedding when she and Nathan had been forcibly separated. Bobbie and Lucas were stunned when Maxie revealed that Judge Walters had ordered her to stay away from Nathan altogether, and that was as a contingency of her getting Georgie. And that was because Monica, wink, wink, nudge, nudged him.
Mm-hmm.
They agreed that the ruling was unfair, and Maxie mentioned she had already left messages for Diane, hoping the attorney could help. Carly eventually arrived, flustered and blaming her lateness on a run-in, if that's what we're calling it, with Sonny. Bobbie asked why she's been with Sonny, prompting Carly to remind her that they share 2 children and had been discussing Michael. Sensing an opportunity, Maxie asked whether Michael would attend the wedding. Carly seemed offended by the implication that he wouldn't. Maxie pointed out that Michael might not want to celebrate after everything Franco had done, including the past situation that had strained their family. I love how dismissive we are over things.
Right? It's no big deal. Just strain their family a little bit.
Carly instantly grew defensive, insisting Franco had never meant to hurt Michael and had even saved him by pulling him out of the harbor. Maxie backfired with a sarcastic comment about Carly's willingness to forgive Franco, and Carly retaliated with a pointed reminder that Maxie had once slept with Franco before his tumor removal. Their argument threatened to escalate until Bobbie and Lucas intervened. Both women apologized, though Carly was nearly raw about Franco's reputation and Maxie's doubt. To lighten the mood, Bobbie called Jocelyn out to the motel out to model the bridesmaid dress Maxie had chosen. Instead, Jocelyn appeared defiantly at the top of the stairs wearing a corn-on-the-cob costume. She announced she had no intention of attending the wedding and she wanted to go trick-or-treating. Carly protested and they had discussed it, but Jocelyn insisted she had never been given a real choice. She even wished Carly would marry her father, Jax, instead of Franco. Maxie and Lucas chimed in that Jax had been their favorite of Carly's husbands, only worsening Carly's irritation. Jocelyn pushed further, saying she preferred Stephen King, Victor Cassadine, or even Sonny over Franco. That would have been really funny if they had somehow brought that up when Victor was back, that Joss had once preferred him over Franco. Finally, Maxie and Lucas hauled the protesting girl off to change into the bridesmaid dress while Bobbie brought Carly a glass of water and commiserated about the strong-willed daughters. Bobbie then asked more pointedly about Carly's visit with Sonny. Carly dodged until Bobbie pressed. Finally, Carly admitted she had to marry Franco for Michael's sake. When Bobbie demanded to know what Michael had to do with it, Carly clammed up and insisted that she needed her mother's support. Show up, shut up, and wear beige. It was clear Carly felt cornered, conflicted, and unable to reveal the full truth. Later, Lucas and Bobbie shared wine and talked about Jocelyn's meltdown. Lucas's boyfriend Brad arrived, and Bobbie eagerly tried to get to know him, though Lucas was mortified by her overinvolvement. Bobbie bragged about Lucas's academic success and pushed him about his unused medical degree, prompting a small argument. Brad diffused the tension, and the couple escaped with Bobbie's reluctant blessing. Across town at the Metro Court, Scott, dressed in a bathrobe and drinking champagne, expected an evening with Bobbie until Franco arrived instead. Franco announced that Carly had thrown him out for the night. Scott tried to get rid of him, but Franco settled in and began eating strawberries Scott had set aside for Bobbie, leaving Scott frustrated and worried about the evening ahead. Meanwhile, at Carly's house, Bobbie grew hopeful when Carly said she had tossed Franco out, but Carly clarified it was only for tradition's sake. She didn't want to see the groom the night before the wedding. Bobbie was unconvinced by Carly's sudden reverence for tradition. She sensed something was wrong, though Carly insisted she loved Franco and wanted to marry him. When Carly learned that Jocelyn was out participating in Beggar's Night, which was also Devil's Night when we were growing up, whatever, she grew alarmed until Bobbie explained the local custom. Carly relaxed slightly. So wait, did you ever hear it called Beggar's Night?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Huh. It is tradition in some Midwestern and Eastern U.S. city-states, including Des Moines, Iowa, and it specifically mentions Buffalo, New York. Only those two cities.
Huh.
Although it says Midwestern and Eastern U.S. cities, but those are the two that it names out.
Mentioned. Oh, that's funny.
Huh. It's a regional tradition for children to go trick-or-treating, sometimes as a safer alternative to the actual Halloween night, which was historically also associated with mischief and pranks. Other names were Mischief Night, Devil's Night, which is what we called it in Pittsburgh, Cabbage Night, and Gate Night.
I don't know why it's Cabbage Night. I've heard Beggar's Night before, but yeah, we always just called it Devil's.
The tradition fosters a sense of community and provides an opportunity for organized, safe trick-or-treating as seen in areas like Buffalo.
But why is it any safer than the next night?
I don't know, because I feel like it was more unsafe to go out that night, at least around here. Like, that was the night that you stayed. If you were not a troublemaker, you stayed home.
Yeah.
I mean, and trouble in our day was TPing trees.
Right.
Okay. She grew alarmed until Bobbie explained the local custom. Carly relaxed slightly, thankful Joss had been appeased, though her anxiety about the wedding persisted. Conversation turned to Luke, and Carly unintentionally revealed that Jerry Jax had claimed responsibility for abducting him. Bobbie was shaken and blamed herself for ever helping Jerry escape. Carly reassured her. Left alone briefly, Carly received a late-night phone call from Sonny. His soft, "I love you and good luck tomorrow," left Carly in tears, underscoring her inner turmoil about marrying Franco. The next confrontation came aboard the Haunted Star. Carly furiously confronted Franco for showing Michael a video of her and Sonny's confessions. Franco argued that Sonny and Carly were responsible for their own lies. He merely exposed the truth. Carly insisted he used Michael as a weapon against her, declaring she never wanted to see him again. Didn't he do that at the actual wedding? That wasn't just Michael. Okay.
Right. He showed the whole video. Yep.
Okay. To everyone in attendance. Michael just was there.
Right.
Declaring she never wanted to see him again, she stormed out, leaving Franco laughing, certain the fallout had only begun. Scott arrived, and Franco placed the jump drive containing Sonny's full confession on the table, inviting Scott to do whatever he wanted with it. Bobbie scolded Franco, but Scott reminded her that Franco hadn't broken any laws that Carly and Sonny had. Word spread quickly. The floating rib, Felicia and Lucy speculated about the drama. When Bobbie arrived, she was distraught and told them the full story. Franco had played Sonny's confession publicly, exposing that Carly had helped cover up AJ's murder. Anna soon entered, intent on arresting Duke for lying to protect Sonny. Duke accepted his arrest stoically, and Bobbie watched with heavy sorrow as Anna recited his rights. Lucy and Bobbie's conversation soon soured. Lucy blamed Carly for helping hide a murder. Bobbie snapped back that Lucy was clearly biased because she had feelings for Duke. Lucy stormed off. Later, Franco found himself at the bar. Bobbie confronted him again, accusing him of cruelty and insisting he'd only proved Carly had never belonged with him. Franco maintained that Michael would one day thank him for the truth and declared Carly's legal fate sealed. As the evening progressed, Scott appeared at the bar, gloating slightly about capturing Port Charles's most infamous criminal, Sonny. Bobbie accused him of hypocrisy for not arresting Franco, and she grew frightened when she realized she hadn't heard from Carly since the confrontation on the Haunted Star. Scott brushed off her concerns, prompting Bobbie to warn him that she would hold him personally responsible if Franco harmed her daughter. Reporters swarmed Scott with questions about Carly's involvement. Bobbie threatened him if Carly were charged. Soon after, in the courthouse, reporter needled Scott about bias due to the relationship with Bobbie, moments before Bobbie stormed in and slapped him in front of the cameras. When the room cleared, Scott tried to reassure her, but Bobbie ended things between them, convinced he would have protected his own daughter more than he had protected Carly. Yes.
Right.
I mean, he was also protecting his son more than her daughter. Like, love your girls and Matthew, but if it came down between my kids and yours, I'm choosing mine.
I think I understand that a little.
Okay. Carly then faced Judge Chua. Diane argued for bail, saying Carly wasn't a flight risk. Scott did not object, but the judge denied bail, citing Carthy's wealth and international ties. Carly, stunned and tearful, clung to Bobbie, who promised to care for Jocelyn. After Carly was led away, Scott insisted he tried to fix things, but Bobbie dismissed his efforts as too late. Sonny, furious that Carly had been denied bail, pushed Diane aside and confronted Scott to negotiate. The outcome became clear when the judge returned for Sonny's arraignment. Moments later, Sonny emerged, followed by Scott and Diane, and approached Carly and Bobbie with a small, resolute smile as he announced that Carly would not be going to Pentonville. Scott confirmed that all charges against Carly had been dropped. Diane clarified the truth. Sonny had agreed to plead guilty in exchange for Carly's freedom. Carly and Bobbie absorbed the news, shocked, relieved, and aware that the cost of Sonny's sacrifice would reshape all of their lives.
All right. And now we're into 2015 when people are realizing that Luke is not Luke, even though this has been going on for a while now. Luke's imposter began his day in Port Charles as a man growing increasingly irritated by the town's fondness for digging through the past. Sitting alone at the Metro Court restaurant, he smirked over a newspaper headline about Ava Jerome's legal troubles, but his mood soured when Bobbie arrived and joked that punctuality wasn't in his character. The imposter, startled at her phrasing, worried she saw through him, but Bobbie was simply apologizing, haunted by guilt that she hadn't recognized sooner that the man she had believed was Luke previously had not been her real brother. She reminisced about their cousin Bill Eckerd, who had once impersonated Luke. The imposter bristled at every mention of Bill, slamming the table and startling nearby diners. Ned and Alexis witnessed his outburst, and after an awkward attempt to smooth things over, the imposter abruptly abandoned his meal and fled. That single mention of Bill Eckerd set off a chain of events. Tracy later heard from Ned that Luke had stormed out of Kelly's after Bobbie brought up Bill, a name that hadn't surfaced in decades, but now provoked volatile reactions. Meanwhile, Bobbie visited Michael at ELQ to mend fences after his estrangement from much of the family. She gently pleaded Carly's case, reminding him that Carly's desperate, misguided actions had come from love. Michael held fast. To forgive Carly felt like a betrayal to AJ. Still, he told Bobbie of his plan to honor AJ by building a free waterfront clinic, though he was forced to relocate it after earlier plans collapsed. To Bobbie's surprise, his new ideal property was on Elm Street, her own childhood home, a place she and Luke had long buried in memory because of the pain it contained. When Michael revealed the house's owner had been listed as Bill Eckerd, Bobbie corrected him. Bill had been dead for decades. Michael wondered aloud if Luke might know how to contact Bill's surviving family, but Bobbie warned him that Luke had reacted poorly to Bill's name earlier and advised he proceed cautiously. As Michael continued his efforts, Sly Eckerd granted permission for the property inspection. Bobbie found an old key from her childhood home and agreed to accompany Michael to see if the place was suitable for the clinic. But at the Spencer house, the imposter, privately furious, descended into the basement where the real Luke sat bound and gagged. The imposter ranted that everyone suddenly wanted to talk about Bill Eckerd, the one subject that threatened to unravel his cover. In a violent rage, he smashed a jug and vowed to crack Bobbie's head open with a baseball bat. Unaware of the danger, Bobbie and Michael arrived at the Elm Street house. Bobbie was immediately swept into memories, the tree she and Luke used to climb, their mother's rocking chair, and the oppressive shadow of their abusive father's recliner. She revealed that she and Luke once had an older sister, Patricia, a revelation that stunned Michael. A loud crash rumbled from the basement. Michael prepared to investigate, but Bobbie pleaded with him to stay put. Before they could act, Luke emerged from the basement. The imposter ordered a flimsy explanation about knocking over a jug while retrieving his old bat. Learning Michael wished to build a clinic on the property, the imposter grew strangely possessive and angry, insisting the house not be torn down, even though Michael explained it legally belonged to Sly. The imposter coaxed them out to talk things over, then secretly locked the basement door on his way out and disappeared with the bat. Later at Kelly's, Bobbie reminisced about Aunt Ruby with Lucas and Lulu. As they honored Ruby's memory with heart-shaped pancakes, Lulu wondered why Luke had not joined them. Lucas mentioned that Luke had already approved Michael's clinic project and even planned a fundraising party aboard the Haunted Star. Bobbie felt relieved, unaware that the real Luke remained a prisoner. Later at Ruby's grave, the imposter joined Bobbie, Lucas, Lulu, and Dante. His irritation peeked through when Dante stumbled over Spencer family connections, but the scene otherwise passed solemnly. Once the others dispersed, Bobbie privately expressed gratitude that she and Luke had survived their terrible childhood. The imposter asked for a moment alone, and once Bobbie left, strode directly to Bill Eckerd's desecrated gravesite, fuming to see the grave dug up. That evening at the Haunted Star fundraiser, the imposter played the role of gentle host. He praised the clinic initiative, spoke with unprecedented verbosity, and made sly, cryptic comments about ridding the community of vermin. Tracy and Bobbie exchanged uneasy glances. They had never seen Luke so hyper, talkative, or oddly triumphant. Meanwhile, the real Luke, earlier by authorities after the imposter's machination finally slipped, found himself in jail. Bobbie came to confront him. Her heart broke when Luke coldly admitted he had sent the bomb to the Haunted Star party that had even targeted a member of Julian's family, accidentally nearly killing Lucas. Bobbie's faith in her brother shattered. Then Luke suddenly changed, confused, terrified, claiming he didn't know why he was in jail, and begging for help, insisting a man who stole his face was responsible. Bobbie, believing it an act, left in anguish. Bobbie then met Tracy and Lulu at Kelly's. They revealed that Helena Cassadine believed Luke's fractured behavior stemmed from trauma buried in the house on Elm Street. Bobbie acknowledged her childhood memories were scattered and dim, but resolved to seek answers. She learned that Patricia, their long-lost sister, might hold the key, but when Bobbie and Tracy tracked Patricia to a convalescent home, they instead found Luke waiting with a gun. He revealed Patricia, bound and gagged in the room, threatened all three women while ranting that the past must be eliminated. Bobbie tried appealing to the protective brother she once knew, but he replied that the past was a different place he intended to destroy. When he prepared to shoot Bobbie, Lulu burst into the room, only to be forced at gunpoint to join the hostages. Lulu warned police were on the way, but Luke was unmoved. As he prepared to shoot Tracy first, Lulu and Tracy suddenly realized he had vanished, slipped out the window in the chaos. Bobbie then turned to Patricia for answers. Patricia insisted the truth had waited 52 years to surface and the anniversary of the day their mother died. Patricia explained that their father, Tim, had been a violent drunk, and their mother, Lena, constantly protected the children. That day, long ago, a bitter fight erupted. Tim taunted young Luke, Patricia defended him, and Lena tried to intervene. Luke, desperate to shield his mother, grabbed a baseball bat. In the chaos, Lena pulled Luke's arm, and Luke, blinded by terror and rage, swung. The blow struck Lena, killing her. Later, when Tim tormented Luke with the accusation, Luke snapped again and struck down his father as well. The truth hit Luke like a physical blow. He had killed both parents. Collapsing in agony and grief, he finally broke through the dark fog that had divided his identity. Bobbie and Patricia rushed to comfort him, devastated by the burden he had carried unknowingly for decades. Patricia confessed that she sent Luke and Bobbie to live with Aunt Ruby in Florida to protect him from the truth. She herself fled, hoping distance would prevent any memories from resurfacing. Instead, the secret festered, fracturing Luke's mind over the years. Now, with the truth revealed, Luke apologized to Lucas, Carly, and the others who had suffered during his breakdown. Carly, who looked strikingly like their mother, urged him to get the help he needed. Luke was taken into custody, but now finally understood and was remorseful. Bobbie, still shaken, confronted Scott Baldwin next, begging him to push for psychiatric care instead of prison. Scott resisted at first, citing Luke's crimes, but Bobbie reminded him of their shared history and Luke's shattered mental state. Ultimately, Scott relented and agreed to recommend placement in a secure mental health facility. When Bobbie visited Luke again, he promised to fight his way out of the darkness and become the brother she deserved. She shared the hopeful news that Scott had agreed to advocate for psychiatric treatment. Luke, humbled and grateful, took the first step towards healing, finally facing the trauma that had ruled his life. And if you go on YouTube, then you can find like that whole reenactment that they did of Carly playing the mom. Were you watching then? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was, what was her name? Chloe Lanier played.
Yes. Played
his sister.
Yes. Played Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're good.
At the floating rib, where Carly raised a glass to celebrate Lucas and Brad's engagement, Sunny, Bobbie, and Scott joined her in toasting the couple, and for a moment the room felt unusually peaceful. Brad whispered to Lucas that everyone appeared to be getting along, but Lucas warned him the night was still young. Their prediction proved correct when Bobbie immediately descended into wedding planning mode, only to be reminded that Lucas and Brad hadn't even chosen a date. Bobbie insisted she would be involved, along with Brad's parents, until Lucas hinted that Brad might not have told his family at all. Sunny teased her to leave the young men alone, and Scott reluctantly agreed. Their fragile peace shattered when Scott made a pointed remark about Sunny letting Sean take the fall for the botched hit on Jake. Scott goaded him further, and this is Jake Doe, not...
Right.
Scott goaded him further, claiming Sunny would be in prison for AJ's murder if not for a friendly governor. When Sunny pushed back, Scott bristled at Sunny invoking Karen's name, and the atmosphere soured. Later at the Metro Court, Bobbie met Valerie to talk about helping Lucas and Brad with their wedding plans. Valerie gently warned her aunt not to overstep and suggested that the couple might not want big production at all. Bobbie fretted that there might not even be a wedding if things continued at this pace, and pressed Valerie to help. Valerie admitted that not everyone dreams of a large ceremony, explaining that she never had time to imagine one because she had spent her youth caring for her mother. Bobbie apologized, which prompted Valerie to reveal another worry. She was uncomfortable getting tangled in another relationship. When Bobbie asked what she meant, Valerie tried to deflect, but Bobbie sensed that her initial panic about Lulu had been telling. Gradually, Valerie confessed the truth that in Lulu's absence, Dante had wrongly believed Lulu had betrayed him with Dylan and in the moment of hurt had kissed Valerie. She emphasized that the kiss had ended immediately and that Dante had been horrified. She and Lulu had since cleared the air. Bobbie listened with concern, but softened when Valerie warmed at the sight of an old photograph Bobbie had brought of Patricia as a teenager. Valerie teared up, realizing how much she had missed her mother and Bobbie reassured her that nothing about Dante's situation was insurmountable. At the old Spencer home on Elm Street, Bobbie found Luke examining a gun on the table. Luke announced he was leaving Port Charles. Bobbie argued that he still had family and unfinished business with Tracy, but Luke explained that he and Tracy had decided to part ways and that Tracy believed he needed to find himself. He returned to their childhood home for closure that goes to their past. His abusive father, protective sister Patricia, and their mother Lena had seemed to speak to him. Lena's voice had been the strongest, urging him to move forward. Bobbie insisted he could do that in Port Charles with his family around him, but Luke said he loved them, not in the way he should. He felt everyone was finally settled and safe, making it the right moment for him to go. Bobbie cried, but Luke reminded her of the many times they had stood by each other, even recalling how her request to break up Scott and Laura had ultimately led him to the family he cherished. They promised to always have each other's backs, and Luke told her he would leave it at that. He would leave that night. He escorted her to the door. Instead of goodbye, he said arrivederci. Bobbie warned she would hold him to his promise to return. They shared a final emotional exchange, referencing a childhood pact before she left him behind. Later at the Metro Court, Laura told Scott that she wished she had someone to confide in, but before she could reveal her secret, Bobbie appeared with the news that Luke was planning to leave town. Elsewhere, Carly was elated because Michael had agreed to attend her wedding. Maxie panicked about seating, but Carly demanded he be accommodated. Bobbie, Lulu, and Valerie arrived with gifts and warm wishes, though Maxie tried unsuccessfully to hurry them along. Carly explained that Jocelyn was still on her trip with Jax, which incidentally solved Maxie's seating dilemma. The women presented Carly with traditional wedding tokens, Maxie's diamond bracelet, Valerie's borrowed crucifix passed from Lena to Patricia, Lulu's blue garter, and finally Bobbie's keepsake, an heirloom handkerchief fashioned from the bonnet Bobbie had once bought for baby Carly when she believed she would have to give her up. Did she put it on a doll and keep it for all those years? That's like, I would so have done that. I would have put it on a doll. Like, she had a Holly Hobby, right?
I'm sure.
So that could have been her Holly Hobby bonnet.
Maybe.
Aw, I forgot about that. Carly was moved to tears, and the women embraced before Maxie dragged her off to prepare. That'd be another fun one, is what was everyone's 4 things? Like the something borrowed, something new, something...
I mean, Carly's had how many weddings in just these past
so Carly
few
alone
years?
would take us 3 hours, yes.
Like, every time we're like, Carly's wedding. Wait, okay, no, this isn't the one to Franco. No, this isn't the one to Jax. No, like, we've gone through all her weddings in the past few episodes.
But really, that'd be fun, especially the ones that are actually sentimental, not the ones that are just...
Right, it's fun to
something
see what
like that, where Bobbie's
come up
keepsake
with.
was a handkerchief that she made from a bonnet. Aw. Oh, it was a handkerchief from a bonnet. See, I was, in my head, I read that, obviously, but in my head, she kept the bonnet and, like, kept it as a bonnet. And I was like, oh, she could have put it on a doll to keep it. But no, she made it into a handkerchief. So she probably kept it on her. Aw. Carly was moved to tears, and the women embraced before Maxie dragged her off to prepare. Once dressed, Carly emerged in a shimmering light blue dress, glowing with anticipation. The women marveled, but Maxie ordered them to remain in the foyer to avoid Sunny seeing Carly. When Maxie checked on the living room, she discovered Sunny had left earlier. Dante and Morgan couldn't reach him, but were sure he'd return. In the foyer, Lulu mentioned a text from Dante asking if they had arrived, which surprises Valerie, and drew suspicious glances from Bobbie. Morgan soon relayed Maxie's instructions to take Carly upstairs again, so final touches could be made. Carly privately pulled Morgan aside to talk before the ceremony, and while they were gone, Dante told the remaining women that Sunny had vanished. Lulu grew uneasy that Sunny hadn't answered any calls. Michael and Sabrina appeared with Avery, and Lulu eagerly held the baby, joking that Avery resembled Dante and would grow up to break hearts like he had. When Lulu whispered to Dante that she wanted another child, and Dante agreed, Valerie quietly turned away, saddened, which Bobbie immediately noticed. Valerie claimed she missed her mother and didn't feel well. Bobbie offered to take her home, and when Valerie insisted it wasn't necessary, Bobbie joked that at this rate, Carly and Sunny might not be married before nightfall. Eventually, Valerie did leave with Bobbie. Maxie returned to tell Carly that Valerie was sick and Bobbie had taken her home. Carly refused to let it dampen anything. Maxie then admitted Sunny had left on an errand, but hadn't returned. Carly believed he was arranging a romantic surprise. When the ceremony finally began, Carly reappeared in her full bridal gown, radiant and emotional, with Lucas escorting her and Jocelyn providing a charming recorded rendition of their wedding march, the wedding march, Carly made her way to Sonny seated in his wheelchair. And this was now Eden McCoy, because this was her first scenes is when they were getting married. They exchanged personal vows and rings. Just as the officiant prepared to pronounce them husband and wife, Dante's phone rang, prompting embarrassing laughter before the marriage was officially sealed with a kiss. Sonny thanked Bobbie for her support, and though Carly bristled when Bobbie gently suggested it might be time for Sonny to make changes, Sonny accepted the honesty. Afterward, Jocelyn asked excitedly about the honeymoon, but Sonny joked about Iowa, and Carly clarified that travel would have to wait until he was strong enough to leave the hospital. Lucas wheeled Sonny back to his room, and Bobbie took Jocelyn home. Lulu declined a ride because she had needed to schedule a doctor's appointment. At the hospital, Dante ran into Michael, and Bobbie joined them. Michael reassured them Morgan was with Sonny and Carly. Dante apologized to Michael for being absent during Morgan's crisis, admitting he had been consumed by marital troubles. He confided that his relationship with Lulu might be beyond repair, and Michael sympathized. Bobbie interrupted to discuss Thanksgiving, and seeing the boys were overwhelmed, declared she would handle everything. Across the hall, Carly and Kiki visited Morgan. Kiki was relieved he was safe, and Sonny and Carly thanked her for her loyalty, her testimony, and quick thinking. Bobbie arrived carrying food. Soon the entire family, Bobbie, Michael, Sabrina, Kiki, Christina, Sonny, Carly, and Morgan, gathered to share Thanksgiving dinner in the hospital. Bobbie noted that Lucas and Jocelyn were on their way. Sonny raised a toast, wishing Dante and Avery could be with them, but acknowledging how much he still had to be thankful for. He praised each person in the room and admitted that Morgan's courage was inspiring him in his own recovery. Surrounded by family, they lifted their glasses and wished each other happy Thanksgiving, ending the long emotional journey with gratitude and fragile hope. At Kelly's, Bobbie happily ran into her niece Valerie, noting that Valerie had been avoiding the family, likely because of the tension surrounding Dante and Lulu's troubled marriage. Valerie explained that she had tried to avoid confrontation, but Bobbie admitted she couldn't judge her, recalling her own past affairs with married men. Bobbie had intended to take Valerie to dinner, aware that the holiday could be hard for her without her mother, Patricia. Valerie agreed, but asked for a rain check, revealing she had plans to meet Dante. Bobbie was shocked that Dante and Valerie were serious enough to make their relationship public. Valerie said she wanted things to work out for Dante and Lulu, but Lulu had refused reconciliation and served Dante's separation papers. Bobbie warned that separation wasn't the same thing as divorce and cautioned Valerie about the possibility of Dante returning to Lulu. Concerned that Patricia would haunt her for failing to protect Valerie, Bobbie saw Valerie's sadness over her mother and worried that Valerie was seeking comfort in a potential heartbreaking relationship. Valerie insisted she couldn't stop herself from loving Dante, and Bobbie smiled knowingly, acknowledging the family trait of pursuing what one wants despite obstacles.
I feel like a wife's not really just an obstacle, but okay.
No, not really.
I mean, he lives in a different city. Okay, that's an obstacle.
Right.
He has a bratty ex-wife. Okay. A current wife? No.
One that just asked him to have another baby?
Right. Like, Lulu's a little cray-cray, too. I want another baby. She's going to the doctor to get herself, see if she can have that happen, and then at the same time serving him separation papers.
Right.
So now we're into 2016. Bobbie went to the police station where Dante briefly updated her on an ongoing troubles around Valerie. Bobbie insisted Valerie would never betray herself or throw in with Johnny, even under duress, expressing faith in her niece. Dante noted Valerie's strange behavior, including her search for a part-time job, but Bobbie dismissed any notion that Valerie would compromise her integrity. Jordan instructed Bobbie to stay for questioning, while Dante privately warned him that Valerie was being set up. After Bobbie left, the investigation continued without her. At the Metro Court ballroom, Bobbie watched Valerie rehearse a dance performance for the nurses' ball, interacting warmly with her and expressing that she wished Patricia were present to see her niece dance. Curtis observed Valerie until she took a break, hinting she might include Bobbie in the performance. Bobbie feigned fatigue and illness, declining the offer. Lucas arrived worried about his mother and promised he wouldn't miss the nurses' ball. Brad and Lucas exchanged knowing smiles, with Lucas hinting at a surprise for Bobbie. Bobbie reflected on Lucas's coming out and the acceptance of Brad into the family. Brad, initially shocked by the wedding, was informed by Felix and asked to be his best man. On the red carpet, Bobbie and Lucas received praise for their elegant attire, while backstage, Brad, Felix, Lucas, and Bobbie prepared for the wedding and nurses' ball performances. Bobbie shared heartfelt thoughts celebrating Lucas and Brad's journey and wishing them happiness. The nurses' ball began with a grand performance recounting General Hospital's history, concluding with applause. Bobbie suddenly collapsed, causing panic backstage. Lucas, finding his mother lightheaded, insisted on taking her to the hospital despite her protests. She wanted to see the wedding. Finn attended to Bobbie at the hospital while Lucas called Brad to inform him of the situation. Back at the nurses' ball, the ceremony continued. Lucas was supposed to marry Brad, but he never walked down the aisle, prompting concern from the guests. Meanwhile, someone approached Bobbie's hospital bed with a syringe. Lucas entered, confronting the person, but soon was left unconscious, collapsed beside his mother's bed. Finn and Griffin arrived to administer CPR, and Lucas was revived after a tense period. Brad and Bobbie watched over Lucas as he remained unconscious, discovering a suspicious injection mark on his neck. Concern arose about potential foul play given recent unexplained deaths at the hospital. At Greystone Manor, Carly learned about Lucas's coma from Bobbie. Bobbie reassured Carly that Lucas was stable and promised they would find answers. In the hospital, Carly and Brad witnessed Lucas regain consciousness, where he recalled being attacked by someone in a white lab coat who injected him with a drug while attempting to harm Bobbie. Monica, Liesl, and Finn were involved in examining the incident, debating whether Finn could have been involved. Meanwhile, Bobbie navigated family matters at home, including Jocelyn's privacy regarding her kidney donor, ultimately agreeing with Jax to respect the girl's autonomy. Bobbie's birthday celebration with family included gifts, laughter, and moments of bonding, particularly with Carly and her grandchildren. During the party, a young woman named Nell Hayes arrived, revealing herself as Jocelyn's kidney donor. Bobbie expressed gratitude while Carly handled the logistics, offering Nell a temporary role helping with Avery. Bobbie volunteered to care for Avery full-time, motivated by a desire to nurture the children she hadn't raised. Later, Carly awoke to find Bobbie informing her of Morgan's accident. Carly struggled to process the news, recalling past arguments with Sunny and her children. Bobbie comforted her as she wept, and Dante arrived to provide clarity, explaining that Julian had targeted Morgan with a car bomb. Finally, Bobbie encountered Ava at the MetroCourt restaurant, who expressed her lingering love for Morgan, which was totally gross and inappropriate. Bobbie acknowledged Ava's grief, then left, reflecting on the complex web of family, love, and danger surrounding those she cared for. At the MetroCourt restaurant, Carly was busy on the phone explaining that the restaurant had been closed to prepare for a Halloween party. As she ended the call, her mother walked in. Carly greeted her warmly and asked if Jocelyn had made it to the party. Surprised that Jocelyn wanted to attend, Carly was reassured by Bobbie, who explained that she had encouraged her granddaughter to take some time for herself, adding the same advice applied to Carly. Carly protested that she couldn't leave because she needed to prepare for the party, but Bobbie reminded her that she had Nell, her assistant, to handle things. Bobbie asked where Nell was, and Carly assured her mother that Nell would arrive shortly, describing her as dependable. The conversation shifted to Morgan, with Bobbie opening up about losing BJ and emphasizing that grief could only be overcome by facing it. Carly became tearful and admitted she couldn't handle it, prompting Bobbie to hug her in comfort. Nell arrived shortly after, apologizing for being late and explaining that she dropped Avery off with Ava to go trick-or-treating. She showed Carly photos, but noted Sunny had not been in any of them, explaining he had been in a bad place and had disappeared without explanation. Nell had stayed with Avery and coordinated with Graciela to ensure someone was always watching the little girl. Carly thanked Nell and reassured her that Avery's safety was the top priority. Bobbie's tone hinted at sarcasm as she acknowledged Nell's efforts, but Carly remained focused on praising Nell's loyalty. Recognizing she was outnumbered, Carly agreed to let Nell handle party preparations and ducked into her office to collect a few items. Bobbie thanked Nell, who insisted she was just doing her job. Bobbie warned that modesty, like confidence, could be excessive and noted that Nell clearly knew Carly's life inside and out, implying she might have an agenda. Nell denied any hidden motives. Later, after Morgan's funeral, Nell was caught rooting through Carly's purse. She briefly considered taking a credit card but stopped, only pocketing some cash. Bobbie arrived, immediately accusing Nell of stealing. Carly and Michael rushed over, and Nell quickly explained that the cash was meant for depositing, as Carly had instructed her to handle the receipts. Bobbie's skepticism lingered, but she accepted the explanation, and Carly took her mother aside to discuss it privately. Michael was surprised by Nell's calmness in the face of an accusation, recalling her past frustration when Jax had questioned her integrity. Carly reassured Bobbie that she had asked Nell to deposit the money and asked her mother to smooth things over, though Bobbie refused, predicting Nell would insist it wasn't necessary. Carly expressed confusion over her mother's dislike of Nell, noting Nell had saved Jocelyn's life and was a meticulous, invaluable assistant. Bobbie admitted that she was wary of Nell's intentions, having observed how closely Nell studied Carly and her family. The tone shifted when Bobbie shared that she had been offered a job at the hospital. Carly congratulated her, and the two embraced warmly as Michael and Nell approached. Nell apologized to Bobbie, who graciously accepted, and after Bobbie left, Carly explained to Michael that her mother's protectiveness was the root of her hostility towards Nell. Later at Greystone Manor, Bobbie and Michael picked up Avery. Bobbie checked on Avery and gave her a gift, while Sunny expressed gratitude for Michael helping with the toddler. Michael was distracted by a text about New Year's Eve plans with Nell. Sunny cautioned Michael about his judgment while grieving, but Michael insisted that he and Nell were just friends. Carly arrived, bringing dinner, and expressed sadness over Morgan's absence, realizing Avery might not remember him. She and Sunny shared a poignant moment reflecting on Morgan's love for his sister. Bobbie found a pill in Sunny's bedroom and questioned Nell about it later. Nell admitted it was hers, claiming she had accidentally left it behind during a prior visit. Bobbie was skeptical but kept an open mind, shifting the conversation to Nell's relationship with Michael. Nell confirmed that they were just friends and had declined his invitation to spend the evening together. Bobbie explained that her tough demeanor was protective instinct towards Carly and her family, and left wishing Nell a happy new year. Later, Nell called Michael to let him know she changed her mind about spending the evening alone. And that's where we end, is New Year's Eve, because next we're going to get into all the Nell stuff and how Bobbie knew what was up.
I don't think I feel like we learned or were reminded that Chloe was on in 2015.
But it seemed like a long time.
That for a while after she was Nell.
Right.
She got cast as Nell very quickly.
She did.
After that, it wasn't like some of them, it's been years and then they wind up becoming cast. I mean, she was.
Yeah, she really impressed them. But you're right. Yeah. Whenever you recall it on just a regular conversation, it's like, oh, that was like 3 or 4 years earlier, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I
think that's the craziest thing about doing these 411s is really realizing how closely together so many things happen.
It's insane that this is 2016 because I swear this was like last week. So,
hey, pretty soon we're going to be up to when we started the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's crazy. So, but yeah, I can't wait to get into it because I just love that Bobbie knew.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yep.
Sarcasm, yes. But yeah, I hate these ones that we do though when there's so many things that we're not going to find out about on Monday.
Right?
I feel like there's nowhere to transition other than, okay, Lucas is back.
Yeah.
And now he's not with Brad anymore. And, maybe we'll learn more about his relationship now with Marco. But that's it. That's the only transition we got right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, join us on Monday as we recap this week's episodes.
Have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to pier54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Pier 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at pier54podcast@gmail.com.